Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. I'm Jack with Hangin Banners, and normally you would hear Ryan Sartori's voice at the start of this, as he's the standard host of the show. And a couple occasions you may have heard Tyler Witt's voice first because he's filled in to host. But unfortunately, due to scheduling issues, neither of those guys are able to make it. So our three-man show today is a one-man show. That's right. It's just me, Jack Coachman, holding down the fort while we're missing a couple guys, and it should still be a good show, right? We've been rolling lately. We've been putting out episodes, putting out some fun polls on Twitter, doing a lot of cool stuff. So I didn't see a reason in stopping now. Talked with the other guys and said, let's see what I can do for a week. So while they're busy, we're going to tackle a fun topic and we're going to check out some of our usual boxes of the regular show programming. So I would expect this episode to be a little bit shorter than most, but that doesn't mean it can't still be a good time, right? So if you're watching on YouTube, hello, nice to see you. And if you're listening anywhere where you can get your podcasts, also hello, but you didn't see me wave just now. So we normally start our show with a little bit of back and forth banter, but I don't want to seem like a crazy person. So I'm just going to jump into our first thing, and you got to bear with me while I throw some things on the screen. There we go. Count your wins. In this case, I guess it's just a win because it's just mine. But March Madness, as you have heard me rave about, is a super exciting time. And so I was thrilled to see that we had some of the best games of the tournament recently. And last weekend, or I guess this would be Sunday the 19th, I had one of my personal best days ever betting, and that was largely in part due to the college basketball goings on that day. And that continued for me. I had some other great days, so that was a fun time winning some money, betting on a sport that I love to follow and watch. But we also had, especially in the Sweet 16, some phenomenal games. Michigan State versus Kansas State ended up being one of the best games of the tournament, going to overtime. We had Gonzaga versus UCLA, was another matchup between two West Coast college basketball titans and proved to be just as interesting, if not better, than the time that they met a few years ago in the Final Four. So just those two were good enough, but then we go to the Elite Eight, and you've got a lot of teams that have not been here before, right? That's the most interesting story, and I'm sure that the coverage has been everywhere discussing how many of these teams have not gotten this far in their school history. Okay, so we're talking about Florida Atlantic University out of Conference USA. Now, they weren't even the betting favorite in their own conference tournament finals. They make the Final Four for the first time in school history. San Diego State is a little bit of a surprise because we've seen the Aztecs go far, have some 30-win years, number one seeds in tournaments. For the last decade, for at least most of my memory, they've been a very good team. They just come from a not so strong conference, and they often falter early in March Madness. But they're in the Final Four for the first time in their school's history. And then even crazier as we go from FAU to San Diego State, Miami University, University of Miami. Sorry, as somebody who went to Miami University, should get that right. The University of Miami Hurricanes in Florida, for the first time in their school history, made the Final Four, which now that's a pretty big school. They were really good at football back at the turn of the century, and they're in the ACC. So you think at some point this team had to string it together and get that far, but not the case. We've got three teams in the Final Four who are just getting there for the first time. And then the University of Connecticut, maybe not as blue blooded as some of the other teams that might come first to mind when you hear that term. But they have at least won the tournament a couple times. So even though they're a 4 seed, they now are the betting favorite, and they're kind of the villains of the tournament because they're the closest thing we have to a powerhouse team. So if you like an underdog story, you're actually in luck because three of the four teams left are underdogs, at least in one sense of the word. So those are my wins, right? Just anything college basketball is always a good time. I will do a quick topic on intercepted at the goal line. Yeah, there it is at the bottom of the screen. So intercepted at the goal line, less intuitive than count your wins. This is something that either personally or in the news I saw and thought, oh, that's a bit of a downer. Or, oh, this didn't go too well for me. Luckily, nothing in my personal life jumped out, at least that I could remember in the last week. But I do have a news story that I had just seen with Multiverses, which was a video game produced by Warner Brothers that was supposed to be sort of like Nintendo's Super Smash Brothers. It came out last year in beta, and it was so popular for a week or two. I swear, I downloaded the game. It was free to play, and you could buy premium tokens in game or whatever to get different skins and costumes and emotes and things like that, the standard microtransaction stuff. And the game was pretty cool, but it was not exactly my own taste. I didn't love it. I played it a little bit with friends, but it was widely popular for a bit. And since that peak popularity, it has been dipping and dipping and dipping. And the creators of Multiverses are not fully pulling the plug on the game, but they are pulling it back until 2024. They say the game will go back up in early 2024, which, whatever. It's some relatively old news video game thing. Why is that an intercepted at the goal line? Well, they also announced that they will not be refunding people who have purchased credits in game because it's a beta. They can take it down to tweak it if necessary. And so people are kind of upset because they spent money on a game that they wanted to buy into. They wanted to see this game get big. They thought it was fun. You got to play as Bugs Bunny or Batman or Shaggy from Scooby Doo. I mean, it was all sorts of different characters that you could play as. And now that money is essentially just being held with the hopes that you'll actually get what you paid for coming back. So that's a little bit of a bummer. And we won't hear much about it, I would guess, until probably fall of this year when people start to ask questions again of, all right, early 2024, it's on the way. But I like the concept, right? You take different Warner Brothers properties and make a cartoon fighting game. It's just, what if the Game of Thrones people wanted to fight the Iron Giant? Like, what would happen? So neat in concept, but the no refund thing is a little bit disappointing. So there you go. Intercepted at the goal line. Not the worst of the worst, but like I said, enough to check the box. We're doing the things that we ought to be doing here. What'll take the bulk of the time today, and this is what I'll call our main topic, because, and it brings me great trouble to say, opening day for baseball is Thursday, March 30th. 30th, September, April, yeah, 30th. We don't have Ryan Sartori on the show, who I'm sure would love to go in and in and in and further in on what the baseball season's going to look like, award predictions, team predictions, what we might see, changes in the rules, changes in the way players and teams approach things from an organizational standpoint. And so the X's and O's of baseball is something that we'll probably touch on, I would guess, in the next couple of weeks. And as we go through the season, once baseball dominates the summer months, I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But I also want to be excited for the baseball season. And I, as a former baseball fan and recent baseball denier, want to try to get back into it too. And as somebody who loves college basketball, I find that March Madness is what brings people in, right? That's when everyone's going to watch March Madness. And that doesn't mean that your alma mater is in or your local hometown team is in. So you fill out these brackets, and people have ridiculous ways of doing it sometimes. One such way is I'm going to pick whatever team I think has the cooler mascot or the cooler logo or jerseys or color scheme, which feels like a very superficial thing. But in the grand scheme of it, you're just trying to enjoy sports. So choose how you want to do it. If that's what's going to bring you enjoyment, if you would rather watch cool uniforms than ugly uniforms, let's go for it, right? That one criticism of the Florida Atlantic Owls, the back of their jerseys, so ugly. It's hard to watch sometimes when they're playing basketball because it's just not a nice look. They've got the names under the number and the front's kind of weird script. If you're into it, you're into it. So let's bring it back to baseball. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to guide us all through an exploration, at least through the lens of one critic. Yeah, critic. I'll be the critic here. At least through the lens of one critic. We're going to try and pick what team we want to support and follow based on their mascot or logo. And is this harsh, hard hitting sports talk analysis? No. Could I go through and make win loss predictions and throw some guys' names out for awards? Yes. But it's my show today, and I don't want to do that. I want to do something that's more fun. So I actually went through a couple years ago, just as an inquisitive mind, went through and ranked the NBA and the MLB logos or mascots on certain criteria. Now, if you're watching, I'm about to share a little bit of what that looked like, just my own personal notes and stuff. And if you're listening, what this is it's an Excel spreadsheet that I made just out of my own boredom. I'm going to guess this had to be early COVID. So this was probably about 3 years ago. Taking a look, and here on the screen, I've got all of the NFL mascots sorted by 5 different criteria. Okay. So we're going I call it logos because that's what I care about the most, but it's a little bit of mascot name. Uniqueness is going to be our first category. How unique is the name of the mascot you play under? I'm not talking Benny the Bull for the Chicago Bulls, but the Bulls. If I was on an elementary school basketball team, what are the chances that my team is going to be named, the Bulldogs, for example, would probably get on our scale of 0 to 5, would probably get a 1 because there's a lot of Bulldogs. A 5 would be something, at least when I did the NFL, something like the Chargers. Okay. The only reason that you would be on a youth team called the Chargers is if it was a youth football league and all of the team names were inspired by that sort of thing. Otherwise, we don't really have a lot of teams called the Chargers. So that's a lot of points there. All right. Uniqueness. That's one. Number two, we've got regionality. Again, it's a little subjective, but how fitting is your team name to where you play? I'm going to slide over to the NBA, for example, because one of the most historical mismatches is the Jazz. They are the Utah Jazz now, which doesn't make a ton of sense because if you think of Jazz, you almost certainly are not thinking, oh, Utah is a great jazz scene. Maybe it has one. That's not what I would think. But they used to be the New Orleans Jazz. So, for the sake of regionality, a 0 would be doesn't fit at all, doesn't make a lick of sense. And a 5 would be, oh my gosh, that's perfect. It is totally right in line with what you would expect. For example, the Miami Heat. If you've been to Miami, it is hot. It makes sense for a team from Miami to be called the Heat. Okay. Then we've got color scheme, which I feel like this is going to be the most up for debate one. And remember that the picks I'm making are mine, and I'm co opting you to agree with me, even though I can't hear you or see you or really ask your opinion. I am going to just tell you what I think. This is just the main color scheme. I don't care about alt uniforms or color rush or things like that. Just in general, the color scheme of the team. How many points do I feel it deserves? And you're also going to get knocked in general if you just have super generic colors or color combos, because there's nothing interesting about red and white, which is a zillion professional North American sports teams. But I'm looking, for example, a number 5 that we gave in color scheme was to the Lakers because you don't really see purple and yellow too much. There's actually only a couple teams that would come to mind. The Lakers being one, the Minnesota Vikings in football being another. All right, that's 3 categories down, 2 to go. Number 4, personal preference. Okay. Now, this is going to similarly be to uniqueness. How much would I want to play on a team called this? Okay, so like the Chargers was our example. That's a unique name. There's not a lot of teams called the Chargers. Um, I think it would be pretty cool to be on a team called the Chargers. But there are sometimes unique names that I don't really think I would want to picture, youth sport, maybe your middle school self. The Denver Nuggets, for example. 5 points for uniqueness because where are there going to be other Denver Nuggets or just Nuggets in general? Personal preference, that's going to be a 0 from me. I think if I were on an intramural team at college and we're like, what should our team name be? Oh, let's be the Nuggets. I don't know that I'm going to have a lot of team pride in being the Nuggets. So, okay, that's my own taste on would I feel proud to call myself a member of this team? And then finally is the logo, which I have, for the sake of MLB, I've got the logos of all 30 teams pulled up on my computer. It's a little complicated for me to be sharing that. So I'm going to trust that everybody either knows the logos or can easily find them. But I'm just going with standard logos. Nothing historical, nothing alternate, just whatever the most common, I don't know, kind of like the little ESPN icons, or I found a website that had a poster of all the logos. We're going to look at just how cool the logo is overall. Again, points for other categories might apply here, right? If you can do something that makes sense with regionality or uniqueness, that's going to be better than just uh, writing your team name. There's nothing super interesting about that. Or for example, the Cleveland Browns in the NFL, they've got a pretty horrendous logo. I would have to guess that they got a very low score. Let's see, Browns. Yeah, they got a 0. Okay, I think that's everything as far as the rules. Now, keep in mind, I did these NFL and NBA ones years ago, so my taste on color and stuff might have changed if you're really closely scrutinizing what you see on the screen. And I've put the MLB logos. We've got our list set up. Let me just make these columns fit the words. I just did it by division and league. So we're going to go from the AL East to the AL Central and then the AL West. And we'll go to the National League and again go East, Central, West. I think this is the order that ESPN has the standings when they're in season. Right now it's Cactus League and Grapefruit League. And that felt like a not very intuitive way to go about this list. So, okay, it's pre recorded. I've already done this by the time you listen, but I am doing this real time. I don't know what team is going to be first, but I do know that the award for the highest total points, so the most possible would be 25. That's the team that I'm going to hang a banner for at the end of the show. And I'm officially declaring that the Hangin' Banners team of 2023. And I am assuming that I have Tyler and Ryan's consent on this because they would say something if they disagreed, but they're not here to say anything. So, power, control gives me the authority. All right, we're going to get started then. Let me think. Is this going to be better to go through team by team or category by category? We'll go category by category, just because that's the way I explained it, okay? So we're going to start then with uniqueness. All right, so uniqueness, as a reminder, this is how many teams do I feel have this name across college sports, youth sports, professional sports? The one trump here is if you have the same team name as another Big Four North American sports team, you're automatically getting 0. Because if you're not even the only professional sports team in the US or Canada that has that name, it obviously is not unique. Okay, so let's go. We've got the Yankees. Now, the Yankees, it feels like a team name that would have been more common long ago uh, when that was more of a term that we used. But I don't think you really call too many people Yankees unless you're in the South talking about somebody from the North. So I'm going to give the Yankees a 4. That feels like a pretty unique name, but historically maybe not super, super original. Okay, we move then to the Boston Red Sox. As far as how unique Red Sox is, definitely gets a little bit of a boost because it's got the SOX instead of the SOCKS, or stockings is what they used to have for some of the teams. So for the Boston Red Sox, now this is tough because we're going to encounter the Chicago White Sox, and I do think they kind of knock each other a bit. That within your own sport, you're not even the only Sox. Wow, this is difficult. I think I'm going to give this one a 3 because it is pretty unique in the scope of, yeah, you probably don't have like an intramural basketball team going by the Red Sox, but it is just a color and then also an article of clothing that gets repeated. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to jump ahead. I'm going to give the White Sox the same 3 points. Okay. So our Soxes hurt each other because it's confusing for them to not only be in the same professional sports league, but also both in the American League as well. All right, the Baltimore Orioles. I want to consult the old lists that I have sometimes to help contextualize the points, but we're doing this. We're doing this live. We're doing this raw and unfiltered. So I'm gonna say for Orioles, I'm gonna give this a 5. I'm gonna say for Baltimore Orioles, that is a unique bird. I believe it's the state bird of Maryland. I'm fact checking that right now. I don't have. Yeah, the Baltimore Oriole is the official Maryland bird. So you really wouldn't see this anywhere outside of Maryland, and that's already kind of a small state. A lot of birds that you could go with. Orioles is unique. So there's our first 5. Um, the Tampa Bay Rays are next, as we're on Team 4 in the AL East. And I'm going to give the Rays, I'm going to give them a 4 because that's not even like a super common. If I were to just ask you to name your team after an aquatic animal, Rays wouldn't come up. I do miss that they used to be the Devil Rays, which is a little bit edgier, but I'd say the Rays can have 4 points there. And now we've got the other American League East birds, the Toronto Blue Jays. For the Blue Jays, now we do have the Creighton Blue Jays quickly come off the top of the dome thanks to March Madness. So that's at least one other team that famously has the same name. But otherwise, I guess we have so many just Cardinals is the one that comes to mind that, I don't know. Blue Jays. I think I wanna give that a 4 also. And now I've gotta look if that's the state bird of or I don't know, do they have provincial birds? Provincial bird of Ontario is the loon. Oh, okay, that's not what I was expecting. Alright, well, I the loons would have maybe got more points because it's a little fun. I'm okay giving the Blue Jays 4. It's pretty hard to have a bad team name at this point. Uniqueness. We're moving on to the AL Central. White Sox already got 3 because we have multiple Soxes. The Minnesota Twins. I'm gonna give that one I think I'm gonna give the Minnesota Twins also I'm gonna give them a 5 because I can't imagine there's a situation where a team sport would go by the Twins because maybe if it was like a tennis doubles team or a volleyball doubles team, but otherwise, Twins is kind of limited in the number that you have. So yeah, I would say that is a pretty unique name. And also, spoiler, that is going to get some good points for regionality too, with the twin cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. But here's a really this is this is a criminal one. Uniqueness, the Tigers. This has got to be the most generic one, but remember, the only way you get 0 is if another pro sports team in North America has that mascot. So the Tigers is an easy one. I mean, what do we have for Tigers? You've got the LSU Tigers, we've got the Clemson Tigers, we've got the Princeton Tigers. I guarantee somebody at like a high school or middle school in your area was also the Tigers. Very little originality here, super generic. 1 point for Detroit. Cleveland Guardians. Keep in mind the name change. They are the Guardians now. And I'm going to say the Guardians probably gets a 2 because it's not really sport specific. So you could have any team be called the Guardians, which it's fine. It's a cool name. I don't mind it. People had backlash towards it for other reasons, but we'll go 2 on the Guardians. And then for the Royals, we're going to jump back up to a 4. Kansas City Royals are going to get 4 points for uniqueness because honestly, it's got kind of an air about it that if I say, oh, the Royals, there are 2 kinds of people. There's the kind of people that watch baseball and would think, oh, yeah, Kansas City. And there's the kind of people who follow the tabloids and would think of the English royal class. So I'm not expecting too many sports teams to go by the Royals, and we'll give them a 4 on that. The Athletics, oh god, this is okay, there aren't a lot of teams called the Athletics, but I am giving this a 2 because it is unique. So literally, that fits, but also everybody who plays these sports is athletic. I don't know why we have to have a team called the Athletics. It's like if there was a team called the Fighting Fighters. Like, all right, well, if you're already fighting, you're a fighter. You don't need to say that. The sports playing athletics. No, that's an easy 2. And then the Astros, Houston Astros. Where are we? Oh, I didn't even realize we jumped to AL West already. So the A's, the Athletics, that was a 2. Houston Astros, I'm going to give a 4 on this one. Um, I don't even feel like I need to give my reasoning too much for this. I think Astro's kind of just a cool term. Outer spacey. You got the Astro turf. What was Astro? Was the dog in the Jetsons, maybe? That's not worth fact checking. All right, Seattle Mariners coming up next. I'm going to give the Mariners also a 4 because it feels like it could be replicated somewhere, but it's also not really a word we use too much. We don't really call people mariners. I guess that would just be, I don't know, a boatsman, a sailor, kind of the same thing, a fisherman to an extent. All right, then we go. Oh, this is our first 0. The Texas Rangers get a 0. They can thank the New York Rangers of the NHL for that. Easy. Moving on. Angels. Angels is going to get a 3 from me. It's generic. Any team could be the Angels. It's not the most fierce mascot, so I could see why people wouldn't pick it. Um, but that's an even 3. All right, so there, American League uniqueness done. Moving to the National League, the Marlins are going to be the first ones up, and I'm going with a 4 on this one for similar reasons to the Tampa Bay Rays. Not impossible to replicate, but if I said name your team after an aquatic animal, you're probably going to go with the Sharks or the Dolphins or I don't know, maybe like just the fish. But Marlin is a specific kind of big fish, so they'll have some points there. The Atlanta Braves. Now this one definitely could toe the line on some maybe it's not problematic per se, but there's some more context about it. I'm gonna give the Braves a 2 because we do have, at least in college sports, I know we have the Bradley Braves, that comes off the top of my head. And it does feel like Braves, maybe just in my memory, also a middle school, high school kind of like, yeah, maybe you had a Braves, especially if you live in the East Coast, plain states, things like that. New York Mets. This kind of sounds silly, but I have to give it a 5. Met doesn't really have much meaning on its own. I get that it's metropolitan or metropolitans, right? But as it pertains to this, I would be shocked to find anybody walking around calling themselves the Mets just out of nowhere. The Nationals. This one's gonna be a 2 as well because it could be any nation, so and it could be any sport. I think that's a pretty generic term. Definitely not as exciting as the previous installment, the Montreal Expos, but that's fine. We'll move to the last one in the NL East. This is the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll give the Phillies I was gonna say 4, but I suppose there's a case for 5. Oh, also, I still have intercepted at the goal line on the screen. All right, hold on. Let me get that out of there. Yeah, okay, there we go. Now we can see everything. Okay, Phillies. I don't really like the name, but it does get a 5 because you probably aren't going to run across too many Phillies. It's only going to be like youth baseball. All right, uniqueness. We'll go with the Cubs. I'm going to give the Cubs a 3 because it's not a super difficult thing to get to, but it is interesting that they went with the baby version of an animal. That gives it a boost up from if it was like the Bears would probably get a 1 or a 2. Cubs, I'm okay giving a 3. And the Pirates, I'm gonna say the same thing. Right out of the gate, I think we've got the Seton Hall Pirates, um, and then we've got like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are kind of adjacent, but as far as how unique it is, anybody could be the Pirates. That feels like something that a 7-year-old would be inclined to pick. Is, oh, we're gonna be the Pirates. Just a cool, menacing figure. We're gonna throw a 5 down for Brewers, which is the next one on the list because it's really not sports related at all. So I would be surprised to find sports teams picking Brewers as their mascot. The Reds, I'm gonna whiz through these pretty quickly towards the end here because we've got a couple zeros on the way. The Reds get a 1 from me. Um, I guess, well, no, that's not fair. I'll give it a 2 because there aren't really a ton of teams that would be called the Reds. I think there's some soccer teams who are the Reds, but it's just a color. There's nothing interesting about that, right? Even at least the St. Louis Blues in hockey, blues is also a type of music. Reds is just your red. That's the color of your team. That's it. So very dull. No uniqueness there. Cardinals, that's a quick 0 because we do also have the Arizona Cardinals. The Dodgers, I think this is actually a very sporty sounding name, right? Because it implies agility. Maybe if you want to think historically, it implied like draft Dodgers or something. But you've also got duck Dodgers, right? Like there's some fun ways to use Dodgers. I don't know. It just sounds sleek, sounds athletic. So that's a 5. And I can't think of any other Dodgers either. Giants gets a 0. New York Giants, San Francisco Giants knock each other out. Gonzo. Diamondbacks, easy 5. Same argument with the fish type things. You could be the snakes, and this is not the first snake anyone would think of. Name 3 snakes. You're going to say what? Like an anaconda, a cobra, a mamba, maybe. Diamondback is a very specific kind of snake. So points there. The Rockies, um, that'll get a 4 from me. It sounds rugged enough that I could see it being another thing. So I'm not willing to put it on that top level, but it's a strong name. And then the Padres, ooh, this is somewhere between 3 and 4, I think. I'm gonna give the Padres. I'm gonna give it a 4 because it is kind of cool that you at least have like to some extent, also a foreign language represented in the team name. Let me just make sure that was 30 teams, right? Yeah, okay. All 30 teams were graded on uniqueness. Again, we're going to take a quick moment to reevaluate what this topic is. This is rating the MLB teams by their mascots, names, logos, a grab bag of everything that doesn't involve their employees, their players, or their on field play. So we're on to category 2. That's regionality. This one I think I can whiz through pretty quickly. This is how fitting is their name for where they currently play. The New York Yankees. That one's going to get a 4 from me because Yankees would typically be somebody from the Northeast, especially if you go back to like, was it Civil War times? Was it Yankees and Rebs, right? Was the like North versus South? Um, so maybe there are other cities that could be more Yankee-ish than New York, but you're in the ballpark, so I give it a 4. The Red Sox. I don't really want to dive too much into the history of things if I don't know. I don't know why Boston is the Red Sox. It definitely is the Kurt Schilling thing with the bloody sock, so it's not because of that. I'm gonna say 2. I don't know why you couldn't have Red Sox somewhere else, but it does sound like a old-timey revolutionary sort of thing, so I'm sure there is an element of regionality. I couldn't tell you what it is. Quickly moving up our rankings, the Baltimore Orioles playing in Baltimore as the state bird being the Baltimore Oriole, I gotta give that a 5 on regionality, for similar reasons on uniqueness, actually, they kinda tied together, so that's a boost for the orange and black. The Tampa Bay Rays. I'd have to assume that you could find a Ray off the coast of Florida, because otherwise, why would this be their team name? Right? It's too specific of a thing to pick. I'm trying to think, where have I seen rays outside of aquariums? I can't think of it. But I do think of them as like Caribbean animals. So I guess if you go to Tampa Bay, you're far enough south. I'm gonna give that one a 4. It fits well. Maybe not like a perfect match, but it definitely fits very well. Toronto Blue Jays. All right, this one I want to look up because it was the loon. Blue Jay, is that a state bird? Uh, uh, Blue Jay Canada. Is it like a national symbol of Blue Jay occurs from southern Canada, Alberta, Quebec? Wait a second. What province is Toronto in? Province, Toronto. It is Ontario. I was right. Maybe. I don't know then. All right. Well, we're gonna give the Blue Jays one. We'll give that a 3 because I guess they're found in Canada. But if they're found all over the Northeast United States too, that's not super special. White Sox. I don't know, man. I'm in the Chicago area. I'm a White Sox fan. I don't really know specifically why Chicago's the White Sox. So I guess I'll just give it again the same as Red Sox. Sure. I guess maybe the no, 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 no. I'm changing. That's a 1. Because White Sox are literally found all over the place. It's probably the most common color of sock, right? So I don't know what Chicago's got to do with White Sox. All right, Minnesota Twins. Man, they're also scoring high, but you do have the Twin Cities thing. So it makes a lot of sense. Minneapolis and St. Paul. Team plays there. The Twins in the Twin Cities. Picture perfect. Detroit Tigers. I don't want to just harp on Detroit, man, but are there tigers in Detroit? There's tigers in Asia. I think there are tigers in South America. But otherwise, boy, are there? I don't even know where do you find tigers, but I'm pretty sure Detroit's not one of them. So Detroit gets a 1 again. Cleveland Guardians. I don't know. Oh, actually, I do remember because this is recent, right? So the Guardians were the like statues outside. They're called like the Guardians of Cleveland or something. So they're named after some gargoyles or something like that. Um, I guess for that I could give it a 2. But to me, the Guardian is like a newspaper. A couple different newspapers are called the something Guardian. Yeah, I know. I can't give that a ton of points. The Kansas City Royals. Why is this what it is? What makes Kansas City Royal? This one I'm gonna do a quick little look at. Uh, let's see. Why are they the Kansas City Royals? They got their nickname to honor kings? Oh, that's what people assume. A salute to the city's heritage in the livestock industry. What? What does that mean? The livestock industry? How's that royal? I'm gonna go with a 1 because if you told me that the United States were to switch from a democracy and a presidency to a monarchy, and you asked me where is the king gonna live, where's the queen gonna live, Kansas City would not be very high on the list. I would be shocked if I guess it's in the middle, but we're not. some ancient castle where we need a whole miles and miles and miles of fortress. So no, Kansas City Royals gets a 1. The Oakland Athletics, that also is, I think, going to get a 1 from me because everyone in the league is athletic. So unless I'm really missing some interpretation of this name, I don't understand why it would be that. Houston Astros. This will be a 4 because they've got the NASA. What is in Houston? Is it Kennedy Space Center? I don't know which space center is in Houston. That's the whole Houston we have a problem thing, right? That's maybe it's just called Houston Space Center actually. Johnson Space Center, something like that. But it fits, right? Astros going to space, astronomy. I give it a 4. Seattle Mariners. This one is a solid 3. We have a lot of coastal cities. We've got a lot of coastal teams. I don't think there's anything specifically about Seattle that would make me think they could be more of Mariners than like any other port town. But they are. So, all right, meet in the middle. Texas Rangers. That's a 5. That's a 5 because there actually was a group called the Texas Rangers, right? I don't know if they were involved in the Alamo or something of that nature. That a separate law enforcement type of group. The Angels. All right, this is tricky because Los Angeles Angels. Well, they're the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, I believe, but Los Angeles being the city of angels, the team being the Angels. Translation of Los Angeles. I guess I give it a 4. It makes more sense for them than a lot of other places, but it is sort of just a translation, so I can't give it a 5. The Miami Marlins. This feels Tampa Bay Raysy to me, except I'm more confident that there are Rays near Tampa than I am that there are Marlins near Miami. I would guess that the Marlins would be more common as you go north, because I think you can fish for Marlins sort of in the New England area. So Miami would feel too tropical. But I am also not a marine biologist, and I couldn't tell you for sure. So we'll give the Marlins a 3. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. The Atlanta Braves. All right, I have to think about this if there's any sort of. I don't think there's a good reason for them to be the Braves. There might be a bad reason for them to be the Braves. So I'm going to cautiously give this a 2 and chalk it up to not being super well informed. This is further proof. I am just doing this live. I didn't research all these things because then you kind of take away the fun. We're just, filling the waters. The New York Mets, that's a 5. You've got the Museum of Metropolitan Art. Wait, is that what it is? Or is the Metropolitan Museum? You've got the Met, like the Opera House. So it makes sense. They're metropolitans and they're in New York, which is like the most metropolitan city in the United States. Washington Nationals. Yeah, I guess if you're in the nation's capital, it makes sense. I'm gonna give this 4 doesn't feel fair. I guess I have to give this a 5. You're in the capital. It's like the hockey, the Washington Capitals. So duh. Philadelphia Phillies. All right, I'm gonna give this a 4, and the only reason it doesn't get a 5 is because you've just abbreviated the city name, the Phillies, Philadelphia, right? And I don't think you should necessarily get points for just like if you were the Houston Texans are a good example of this, right? Like, yeah, duh. If you're in Houston, you're going to be a Texan because you're in Texas. So I'm not going to double down and say you've earned it. You've come up with this amazing, clever name. I guess it's better than if you were the Buffalo Texans because there's no Texans in Upper New York. Chicago Cubs. Do we have Bears in Illinois? This is where we're missing Tyler Witt. This is where I need our bear expert to inform me on, do we have bears? Because we've got like forested area. I'm going to guess there are some bears. So I'll give this a 3. Yeah, because it's not really like, no, 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 no. Hold on, hold on. I'm giving it a 2 because I'm giving Illinois the credit, but it's Chicago. Who's going to be walking down, Michigan Avenue and they're, oh, look, there's bears crossing the street. No, that's not a thing. There's no bear cubs. The Pittsburgh Pirates. This one, I'll be honest, I don't understand at all. Pittsburgh's not even really in a location where it would make sense to have pirates because it's too far inland, unless there were land pirates. And I don't know that that's actually a thing. So I think I have to give this a 1. Cool name, but doesn't really make sense. Milwaukee Brewers, yeah, it's a city, it's a state that loves beer. They make a lot of their own. That's a 5. We can go through that quick. Cincinnati Reds, it's just a color. That's a 1. Doesn't make sense. We could grind through these. St. Louis Cardinals, they got a 0 because they're not the only Cardinals, but they are going to get 4 points because you do see a lot of Cardinals in the Midwest. Um, so it does make sense that one of these Midwest teams would be the Cardinals. And then the Dodgers of Los Angeles. I don't really get this. I think I have to give this a 1 because I couldn't even pretend to know why Dodgers would be in Los Angeles. Yeah, no, no, I'm stuck on that one. San Francisco Giants? Is that where you'd find the giant redwood? That's somewhere in California, Northern California. If I'm wrong, then this is going to be a bit of a silly look, but I'll give it a 2 because I do think that you have giant redwoods. I know that's not what the team is named after, but you can at least connect a couple dots. Uh, Arizona Diamondbacks. Okay. Also, got to do a quick check. Where do you find Diamondback snakes? They are found. Wait, what? Wait a second. They're found in. Oh, Eastern Diamondbacks are found in the southeast. Western Diamondbacks are found in the southwest. Okay, then I guess that has to be a 4. Yeah, you pretty much nailed it, but I guess they could be more specific. They could be the Arizona Western Diamondbacks for better geographical accuracy. Colorado Rockies, 5. Colorado's mountains. They happen to be called the Rockies. Boom, easy. San Diego Padres. Well, San Diego is very close to Mexico, so that at least influences the language of the team name. But the fathers, the Padres is, I guess it could be a religious thing. I give this a 3. A 3 on the Padres. All right, 2 categories down, 3 to go. If this feels like it's dragging, I'll go faster. If it feels like it's rushing, sorry, I guess I'm going faster anyways. So let's hope that it was dragging because here we go. We're speeding up. Color scheme should be easy. Now I've got to pull up some of these logos to help me out too. The Yankees, at least per their logo, are red, white, and blue. And you know what red, white, and blue is? It's patriotic. But you know what else red, white, and blue is? It's generic. That's the most basic color combination for a sports team. That's a 1. Red Sox. Oh, maybe I'm going to be too hard because the Red Sox are red and white. And you know what red and white is? Generic. So I'm harsh again. That's a 1. Baltimore Orioles, orange and black. Let's do a quick think. How many professional sports teams in the big 4, the hockey, basketball, football, baseball, how many of them have orange as one of their colors? The Bears are orange and blue. The Orioles are orange and black. Is anybody else orange? The Knicks are orange and blue. I can't think of who is in the NHL, but there's an NHL team that's orange and blue. The Islanders, maybe? So I guess, I don't know, kind of feels weird with the Orioles, but I think this has to be a 5. I think they're the only orange and black. Well, no, you do have like Princeton is orange and black. There's got to be some other colleges that are orange and black. I'll give this a 4 actually, because it's also stealing Halloween's color scheme, so it's not a super unique color combo. The Tampa Bay Rays, what are their colors? I just anytime I think of their logo, I think it's gray. Oh, they've got like a deep blue and a yellow. That feels very average. So 3 is going to be our number in the middle. The Toronto Blue Jays, if I recall correctly, guess what this team is? Red, white, and blue. But I'm actually gonna give them a 2 because they're red, white, and blue, but they're not an American team. So they're not just stealing their country's flag colors. Canada's just red and white. So they're adding a color, whereas the Yankees and some other teams later kind of just have the American color scheme. The White Sox. Oh, this pains me because I'm a White Sox fan and because I actually do think black and white works very well for a team. But as far as the interestingness of black and white, I think that has to be Two would be generous. I'll give them a two. There's no other black and white teams here. The only other one in pro sports that I can think of is the Brooklyn Nets. So I guess it's fine. Obviously, black and white go well together. They do on cookies too. Black and white cookies, Oreos. That's a great combination. All right, the Minnesota Twins. Now, see, they're red, white, and blue, but they at least change the red a little bit and the blue a little bit. They're kind of all like faded, maybe a shade or two darker. So I'm going to give them a two for being at least a different red, white, and blue. Um, the Detroit Tigers. All right, I need to look up the Tigers color scheme because their logo is just the navy blue, but I think they're also orange, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, they're the same as like Auburn. Well, I'm actually gonna. I'll give this a three. Orange and blue, sure. There's a couple other teams that have that, but they've got a darker blue than like the Knicks. Um, a bit of a darker orange, if I'm remembering correctly, too. Cleveland Guardians. What do you know? They're red and white, and maybe they're also blue. That's a one. Kansas City Royals. They are blue and white, but also have that little bit of gold sometimes as kind of an accent color. I'm actually going to give that a three. Blue and white, you'd think is generic, but they're really, I can't think of too many blue and white teams. We might come back to that if there are more later on the list. But I'm like, what do you got? You've got the Indianapolis Colts. You've got the, I don't know. That might be it. Who else is just blue and white? I think that's it. The Oakland A's. This is actually my high school colors because they're green and yellow, and you don't see that much in sports. So shout out a bit to my alma mater. I'm gonna give this a five. I think this is the best color combo so far. The green and yellow. They work well together. You see those colors. Also, the Kane County Cougars were my minor league team growing up, and they were in the A's system, so that was their colors for a long time as well. The Houston Astros. They used to be in the like Jeff Bagwell, Lance Berkman days. They used to have that red and black star. Now I forgot they're actually orange and blue as well, and pretty similar to the Tigers, but they don't feel the same. So I'm going to give it the same score as the Tigers, which is a three. All right, what do we got next? We've got the Mariners, the Seattle Mariners. Oh, they're like they've got the teal with the navy sort of stuff, different elements of blue. That's a four. I'll give it a quick four. Oh, look, we've got some quick ones to get through here. The Texas Rangers, red, white, and blue, one. Los Angeles Angels, red and white. They've got like a very small hint of yellow as an accent. That's also a one. The Miami Marlins. Now they're more colorful than the Florida Marlins were. They've got uh, kind of like a fluorescent blue, some interesting accent, like a reddy orange sort of one. I'm going to give them a five. I feel like they've got a pretty good color scheme going. The Atlanta Braves are red and yellow, I think. That feels pretty in the middle. That'll be a three from me. The Mets. Wait, how did I forget all these orange teams? Or did I mention the Mets? No, I didn't. The Mets and the Knicks and the Islanders all have the same color, and we already did an orange and blue. So I guess this is a two. They've got a very plain orange and blue. The Washington Nationals will follow, and let's see. Oh, they're red, white, and blue. That's a one. The Phillies, they're red, white, and blue is a one. The Cubs, they're red, white, blue. That's a one. All right, I have to stop myself for a second. It's good that teams have alternate uniforms and like throwback logos and stuff because that is now we've had one, two, three, four, five, six teams whose colors are red, white, and blue. That's 20% of the league. Ryan Sartori, when you listen to this, do lead a charge at some point in your baseball community. Can we get some more unique color combinations in the MLB? Because we've already had like three orange and blues, three red and whites, six red, white, and blues. Maybe I should have given the White Sox more points. I don't know. All right, the Pirates coming up. They are yellow and black. I'll give that a four. Really, the only teams who use that are Pittsburgh teams. There's a fun fact, actually. I believe, you think about this, is the city of Pittsburgh. There's a trivia piece with this. They're like the only city that has the same colors across all of their sports teams? I guess Washington, D.C. might also fit. Oh, no, because the Commanders are different. Yeah, I think Pittsburgh's the only one that has at least 3 major sports teams, uh, and all of their sports teams have the same colors, yellow and black, with the Penguins, the Pirates, and the Steelers. Which, by the way, Penguins doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense either. The Steelers I get, but, Pittsburgh, you gotta figure out these names. The Milwaukee Brewers, they're, like, blue and yellow, I think, right? Um that I don't know. You look at it, it's kind of boring looking colors. I'll give it a 2. The Cincinnati Reds. Yeah, we've established red and white. You're not getting anything out of me. The Cardinals. We've established that you're not getting anything out of me. There's some ones. The Dodgers are blue and white. We got to give them whatever we gave the Royals, even though they're slightly different blues. So that's a 3. The Giants. Oh, there's an interesting one because the Giants are orange and brown. I think. Is it orange and black? Orange and brown. Yeah, I'm picturing like Tim Lincecum or whatever. I'm gonna give them a 5, actually. I think that they use those colors very well to complement each other. I am a bit of a sucker for orange, but we haven't seen a lot of brown here either, so that points for that. Oh, this one hurts me the most. The Arizona Diamondbacks. So they're red and black, which we haven't had yet, which will get them a 2. But the Arizona Diamondbacks of the early 2000s that were the purple with the teal, oh my gosh, beautiful. It's like a wild berry Pop Tart. What a nice color combination. Okay, we've got 2 more. The Colorado Rockies, they're like blue and gray. I could toss them a 2 for that. And the Padres are like a dark, really dark brownish blue and a gold. I'll toss them a 2 as well. Okay, 2 more categories to go. I could see at this point we're pushing the hour mark, which is actually kinda longer than I expected, but we'll get through this, we'll get through this. Uh, we're gonna go through personal preference. I'm gonna give brief justifications to my scores on each because, this is just how much I would want to play for this team and be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a member of the blank." Kinda the same way that any activity you're in, you would whether you'd wanna own up to being a participant or not. Some of these team names I wouldn't really care to be a member of. The Yankees, that's pretty low for me. I would feel very awkward being on a team called the Yankees. It's got that weird, uh, intra-national divide. Very strange. The Red Sox, I give it 2. Nothing super exciting about being on any sort of Sox, so we'll jump ahead and give the White Sox also a 2. Um, oh, we're giving them a 1 because again, White Sox is too generic. The Orioles, this actually gets pretty low for me. I'm gonna give it 2. That's such a clunky word to say, even though they've done well in the other categories. Oriole does it gets stuck in your mouth, and for that reason, "Oh, Jack, I heard that you're playing on a local football team. What's your team?" "We're the Orioles." Can't really say that too well. The Rays, 3. All of the ones that are 3, I'm not gonna really elaborate because a 3 for me in this category is, yeah, it's fine, but I'm not super excited about it. Blue Jays. I'll give this a 4, actually. Blue Jay is a very cool looking bird, and I think it would be cool to be on a team that's called the Blue Jays. The Twins, 2, doesn't really make sense. I guess if I was playing with one other person, I don't have a twin. I'm not twins with anybody. I don't get it. The Tigers, 3, bland, bleh. I could play for a Tigers, sure. Guardians, same sentiment. I could be on a Guardians and it sounds a little cooler, I guess. Actually, I'll bump that to a 4. It's better than average. Royals is a 2. That's got a weird air of prestige to it, a bit of snobbery behind it. And I don't subscribe to at least flexing that sort of mentality in the public. I spare me on this one because it's a little goofy. I actually am going to give the Athletics a 4. This to me feels like your dodgeball movie, like the average Joe's sort of thing. I think it's kind of funny if you were on a team and you called yourself the Athletics and just especially if you are whether you're athletic or not. I guess if you're not athletic, it's even funnier. Um, but it's like calling your a studious person like, "Oh, they're an academic." All right, sure. Like I'm an athletic. I enjoy sports. The Astros, 3, middle of the pack, sure. Mariners is a 2. I don't feel like I'd be super excited to go around trumpeting that I'm a Mariner. Also, phonetically different than marine, where it's derived. So that I could see people being confused. The Rangers, I'm gonna give this a 5. Now, if it was the Texas Rangers, but that's not what we're doing. If it was the Texas Rangers, I probably would give this a lot fewer points because I don't need to be a Texas Ranger, some gun-toting outlaw renegade type. At least that's the image that comes in my mind. But just a ranger on its own, that's kind of a cool sounding thing. You got like Space Ranger. Buzz Lightyear was a space ranger, right? That always sounded like a cool title. I'm gonna be a space ranger. Angels, 3, fine, whatever. Marlins, no, that's a 2. That's a below average. I don't want to be a fish. I think if you're going to be a fish type thing, dolphins and sharks is where you draw the line. Next fish off the board for me would probably be an electric eel. I would be an electric eel, but I don't want to be any of the other types of fish. There's nothing exciting about that. Braves, 1. I would not be comfortable referring to myself as a Brave in the context that they use. I don't think that describes me very well, and I don't feel like I need to get into too much more detail. The Mets, I'll give that a 4. Actually, it's kind of funny sounding. If it was the Metropolitans, that's too much, but they abbreviated to Mets, and that, oh, I'm a Met. I don't know. It just got a funny ring. I don't think I have a, yeah, that's all I got on that one. Nationals, that's a 1. That sounds very likely to be some sort of fringe political group. Also, not something I would want to accidentally stumble into saying, oh, yeah, I'm a national. Phillies, that's a 1. No, no, I don't want to be a Philly either. If anybody outside of the city of Philadelphia would like to be called a Philly, I don't want to hear it from them. That is a weird thing. It's clunky. It doesn't really conjure an image of anything. The only thing that could come to mind maybe is a Philly cheesesteak, which also would be a weird thing to go by for a sports team. Phillies is a low one. The Cubs, 3, fine. We're back to the okay ones. Pirate. Okay. I did say earlier in this episode that Pirates feels like something that a 7-year-old would come up with for their team name. But I'm giving this a 5. So I would like to clarify, I am older than 7 years old. Um, I do think that is kind of fun. You could definitely do some neat gimmicky things. Show up with an eye patch, get the like fake parrot on your shoulder or something. So I would be a pirate. Brewer, I don't know. I could see anything 2, 3, or 4 on this. This is the hardest one on the list so far. I'm gonna give it a. I'm gonna give it a 3 because it's kind of cool sounding. I guess it works for adult sports. I'm not a brewmaster of any sort, so it doesn't really describe me too well. But I could play for a group that was the Brewers. Yeah, if you worked at a bar or something, that's kind of clever. The Reds, no, 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 no. Horrible team name in every category so far. Now that I look at it, that it's not going well for them. Cardinals. I actually was a Cardinal. I went to North Central College, and they're the Cardinals, so I can't put anything lower than a 3 here because I was that. I'll go with a 4. It's a been there, done that point. That's what brings it above average. Dodgers, again, it does sound very athletic, very cool. I think I think I could give the Dodgers a 5 here. Yeah, it sounds nice. But yeah, me and my friends were on a street hockey team, or whatever you call it, roller hockey team. We're the Dodgers. Now that sounds like a force to be reckoned with. I would be intimidated to go against a team called the Dodgers. The Giants, 1. Uh, maybe 2. No, 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 1. You're either being ironic, which is probably not that funny if you've got a team of short people and they're the Giants, or you're being literal if you've got a team of tall people and they're the Giants. And neither of those are super compelling. So there's no really good use for it. The Diamondbacks, this is a 5. Even if you didn't know it's a snake, that is a very cool sounding thing. So I'll give the Diamondbacks something there. The Rockies, we'll go with a 4. Again, kind of that rough, rugged feeling. Not my personality specifically, but in the context of sports, I could go by a Rocky. And you've got Rocky Balboa, right? So if you're going against Rocky himself, that would be pretty scary. Very likely to lose for most of us. So Rockies gets a 4. Padres, that's a 2. Probably again just maybe doesn't fit me as well as it might for other people, both in the language of origin and the literal translation. I am a padre to nobody at the moment, so that'd be kind of strange, but it does sound a little sporty. All right, hour mark, bang. We're right around there, and we've got one category to go through. That is the logos, and this is the toughest one to, if you aren't a huge baseball fan, to visualize in your head. Um, but we're just gonna go with how cool the logo is, how well it incorporates elements of the team, color scheme, font, image, things like that. Okay, let me get this on the screen for myself, and we'll start at the top again. The Yankees. I give this a 4. It's weird, but it's got the baseball on it, which is cool that you have the baseball theme, and it's got that adorable Uncle Sam like top hat on top of a baseball bat. Actually, you know what? No, I'm giving this a 5. I really like the Yankees logo. For all of the evil that the Yankees represent in the context of baseball, their logo is objectively very fun. The Red Sox, on the other hand, it's a pair of Red Sox. It's a 2. It's a little cutesy, but it's also kind of, I don't know, it just is what it says. The Orioles, this gets a 1 from me. I'm so sorry, Baltimore Orioles, that you have fallen in the last couple of categories. Look up the logo for the Baltimore Orioles. You've got this dopey, big beaked, beady eyed, ball cap wearing Baltimore Oriole. It just looks like I would not want to be friends with it. I don't know what it is about it. It's got some kind of like puffier Woody Woodpecker vibes. It just the brim of the hat is longer than the beak, which has the smile. I don't know. Nope, 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 nope. That's a creepy looking logo. Tampa Bay Rays, they are gonna get a 1. It's just the word Rays. Wait a second. Is the R supposed to be a ray? Oh, are they rays like rays of sunshine now instead of devil rays? You know, I'm giving this a 2 because they've got that star on it. Maybe it is like a ray of sun. All right, you can have a 2, but I am confused. Blue Jays. That's a pretty ugly logo. I don't really understand what the maple leaf of Canada is doing. It's like a earpiece. Um, and I feel like there's some sort of shape that I'm not picking up on in this Blue Jays logo. One of those like, oh, it actually looks like this if you look close enough. I'm giving it a 1 because I don't really get it. The White Sox, yeah, the script is cool. The little swirl letters that interlock. I give it a 2. There's nothing special going on. The Twins, it's just the word twins on a baseball. That's a 1. The Tigers. Again, fancy little font, a very elegant script. I could give that a 2. It's just the letter D though, so nothing special. The Guardians is this weird what am I looking for? It's almost like what we thought the future would look like 100 years ago. Like if you were to write a comic strip that took place in the 1990s, but you wrote it in the 1940s, I feel like it would look like this. And it's got the baseball. I guess the G's are guarding. The G's are guarding the baseball. Um, I guess I'll give it a 2. Yeah, I'm not sure. There's potentially too much of the actual baseball in that logo. We go to the Royals, which is just a KC on a shield with a crown. I'm actually going to give that a 3. It's got a soccer type crest vibe to it, and that makes sense because it's royal. Athletics, it's just Oakland Athletics written in letters in a circle. That is a 1. Astros, okay, they are the same as the Athletics. Actually, I'm just knocking all these out. All these are getting 1 from me. Where you just, oh wait, no, the Twins and the A's is worse. The Astros has the star with the H. They can have a 2. But there are a bunch of these where they just write like on the top it says, Houston Astros logo. Oakland Athletics logo. Super boring concept. Oh, here we go. Seattle Mariners. It's got the kind of jagged compass thing though. I'll give it a 2. Oh, here we go again. Texas Rangers. Oh, why are they all in the AL West? Where's the Angels on here? Angels is different. Texas Rangers gets a 1. It's the letter T on a baseball with the dopey format. Angels, it's the letter A with a halo. Fine. I get it. I give it a 3. It kind of looks like a cell tower, which I think is cool, but I don't really know that that fits what they're going for. Miami Marlins. This could be it looks like it should be cool, but it again doesn't really make sense. The colors are neat. The tail of the Marlin kind of makes up the A in Miami. There's a hint of a baseball vibe to it. I could give that a 2. So far, MLB, I'm very unimpressed with your logos. The Braves, I'll give a 2. No, I'm giving a 1. The tomahawk looks kind of neat, but otherwise it's just the word Braves. The Mets, okay, it's a superimposed New York skyline on a baseball with Mets in a cursive script. I'm actually going to give that a 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. What else do we have here? The Nationals. Oh, would you believe this? Washington on the top loop, Nationals on the bottom loop. They're just spelling their words in a circle. That's a 1. Phillies. The Liberty Bell with the crack and the Phillies script. I'm gonna give that a 4. I do like the Phillies logo. I think it's kind of neat. The Cubs. Uh, okay, it is just the word Cubs inside a blue circle, but the C almost makes a second circle, so I'm gonna give it 2 points. Right? It's a neat, almost what are they called? Concentric circles. Who do we got next? The Pirates. No, it's the letter P. That's a 1. The Brewers. Oh joy. Milwaukee on the top half, Brewers on the bottom half. A glove in the middle. The glove, for the record, does have the MB kind of make up. The M is the like your 2 through 5 fingers of a glove, and the B is like the thumb and the palm of the glove. So I will bump it up to a 2 because it does do that. No, I'll bump it up to a 3 because it's clever. The Cincinnati Reds, they have just been getting crushed here. And uh, they just have the word Reds with a pointy C. That is a 1. Cardinals, you've got a cardinal that's on what looks like a branch, but is actually a baseball bat. I'll give that a 2. The Dodgers, I don't really know why the ball is going up in the air. Like, so if you hit a baseball and you were to draw it launching off the bat, it's got like impact trail lines. It looks kind of neat, but it is very simple. That's a 2. Giants. What a beauty. They've got the word Giants on a baseball, but it doesn't even fit on the baseball. That's a 1. The Diamondbacks. Okay, is there something I'm missing here? Oh, they have the letter A. And they've got the kind of, I almost call it like a Southwest pattern on it. But what about it is Diamondback? Is the inside of the A supposed to be a snake head, maybe? I think I have to give this a 2 because it kind of just looks like a stylized A. The Rockies, it's just a C and an R interlocking, and they're very plain looking. That's a 1. And the San Diego Padres, I'm looking where are the Padres? Oh, interlocking S and D. Not even. It's just a S on top of a D. Even. Well, no, they're kind of interwoven. That's a 1. All right. Well, if we learned nothing else today, it's that baseball logos actually kind of suck, even though they do have some pretty cool team names. All right. So for those of you watching along, I'm going to take these teams and their scores, and I'm going to sort them by total. For those of you listening, I'll go over some of the top teams and the most surprising finishes, I guess. But let's sort this and get our top results. Sort by column total. Largest to smallest. Thank you, Microsoft Excel. Oh no, it's a 3-way tie for first. All right, I'll have to break that tie. Last by a decent margin, 6 points in 5 categories, the Cincinnati Reds. They lost a lot of points for just being a color and just having their color beat that color. Where are my White Sox? Where did they end? Oh, they ended up pretty low, tied for second to last. Yeah, that's not great. Well, what's of note here? The Orioles, actually, if they weren't so awful on the logo, if I wasn't so creeped out by that thing, they could have had sole possession of first. They end up missing first by 1 point in the total column. 3-way tie for first goes Mets, Brewers, and Diamondbacks. All of them got a 5 on uniqueness. All of them got a 2 on color scheme. And then the rest was kind of varied. So between the New York Mets, the Milwaukee Brewers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. I've got to pick one of those teams to hang a banner for. They had 18 points out of a possible 25. Oh, who gets the banner? Who gets the banner? Remember, this is what I'm declaring as the official team of Hangin' Banners. I'm going to, out of decency to Ryan Sartori, I will not pick the Milwaukee Brewers because that feels like it would be disrespectful as him being a Cubs fan to pick a division rival. Um, I I feel like we can all, as sports fans, relate to experiencing misery or disappointment. So if we're already going to be in that boat, let's just add to it. I'm going to make the, for whatever reason, listed first on this Excel spreadsheet, New York Mets. That is the official team of Hanging Banners. Until you hear otherwise, I probably am going to get yelled at by either Ryan or Tyler for making an official team while they're gone. I do want to see the New York Mets. I'm excited because they've got Cohen taking over ownership, and he's shown that he's willing to spend big bucks to try and put this team on the map. I want to see what their World Series odds are. The Mets, you know what? We've actually got a contender here. I didn't realize this. They are tied for fifth in odds at plus 950 to win the World Series. So, and then in the National League, they are the tied for the third favorite. All right. Well, we've got something to look forward to. New York Mets. Let me throw this hang a banner thing up here so that I can officially make it the banner. Yeah, there we go. Hanging a banner for the New York Mets, the orange and blue, not the orange and blue I've got on my hat, but they are the orange and blue team that we're picking to back in the MLB this year. If they win the World Series, let it be known that we picked them not because of their baseball talent or their chances to win, but because of their mascot, their logo, their team name, and all the other stuff that doesn't really affect their team. Okay. Uh, all right, that's the hang a banner. We went through, we did the main topic, we did the count your wins, the intercepted. I believe that we should be back to normal format next week. I don't know exactly what we'll be talking about, but we should have all three members of the show here together. As always, make sure to follow and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And wait. I'm going to change this again on the video. Follow us at Hangin' Banners on Twitter and Instagram. Remember, it's Hangin', Hangin. It's got that cool, hip sounding lack of a G at the end. It's not a full gerund. Hangin' Banners on Twitter and Instagram. My name is Jack. You can follow me at Coach Coachman. The first coach like the job. The second one, Kochman. But if you don't follow me, I won't be offended. I'm also declaring myself, before I close the show, I'm declaring myself the winner of Starting Five, which was our poll. We did a draft of the worst takes. So we chose things that we thought were bad takes on the previous episode, put a poll up. I'm not even sure who won, but I think it's one of those must be present to claim their prize. And I'm the only one present. So I'll be picking the category next week. I'm choosing myself as the winner of that event. And I think we are good to go. So thank you for listening and bearing with me while I take you through a creative avenue on picking a baseball team to support as opening day approaches. And make sure you keep listening and following along to all the cool stuff we've got going on as time moves forward. Talk to you all later. See ya.